You think staying proves strength. You think enduring disrespect makes you noble. You convince yourself that patience means silence, that loyalty means self-denial, that holding on is somehow a moral victory. But Marcus Aurelius understood a truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The moment you walk away, you regain control. Not control over others, control over yourself. Control over your attention. Control over your emotional balance. Control over what you allow to shape your character. If you are still forcing yourself to remain where your peace is constantly tested, where your boundaries are repeatedly crossed, where explanation never leads to understanding, then this video is speaking directly to you. Because what drains you is not effort, it is misplaced effort. And Stoicism never rewards wasted energy. Understand this clearly. Strength is not proven by how much you tolerate. Strength is proven by how clearly you choose. The disciplined mind knows when persistence turns into self-betrayal. It knows when presence becomes permission. And listen carefully, if you skip videos like this, if you delay subscribing, you are not being neutral. You are choosing comfort over growth. You are choosing to remain exactly where you are. People who master themselves do not hesitate when truth is placed in front of them. They act while others postpone. Subscribe now, or stay trapped repeating the same mistakes you already recognize but refuse to confront. The choice is yours, and it always has been. From relationships to work, from arguments to expectations, modern life trains people to cling, explain, and tolerate endlessly. You are told that walking away means you failed, that endurance alone is virtue, that leaving makes you irresponsible or afraid. So people stay. They over-explain. They absorb disrespect. They call it maturity while their inner stability erodes. Stoicism teaches the opposite. The Stoic does not cling to situations out of habit or fear. He does not confuse endurance with wisdom. He understands that persistence without judgment is not strength. It is attachment wearing the mask of virtue. Modern culture rewards those who stay available at all costs. Stoicism rewards those who remain governed. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire under constant pressure, conflict, and expectation. Yet the wars that mattered most were not fought with armies. They were fought within the mind. He understood that peace is not something granted by circumstances, but something preserved through discipline. That is why he wrote not about conquering others, but about mastering reaction, restraint, and choice. He knew this clearly. Not every situation deserves your presence. Presence gives weight. Presence gives permission. When you remain where chaos dominates, you feed it with your attention. When you continue explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you surrender authority. The Stoic refuses that surrender. And not every person deserves access to your mind. Access is power. What occupies your thoughts shapes your character. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily to guard the inner space, because once it is disturbed, clarity follows it out the door. The Stoic mind is selective, not reactive. Walking away, then, is not escape. It is not avoidance. It is not weakness. It is discernment, the quiet ability to recognize what no longer aligns with reason, order, or self-command. It is the decision to withdraw energy from what cannot be improved through virtue. The disciplined individual does not need to announce departure. He simply removes himself from what degrades his inner state. That is not running away. That is choosing alignment over noise, control over chaos, and self-respect over endless tolerance. The central Stoic principle here is simple, yet demanding. You do not control others. You control where you invest your attention, your energy, and your dignity. Nothing else truly belongs to you. Not opinions, not outcomes, not approval. The Stoic accepts this without resentment and builds strength from it. Most suffering comes from misdirected investment. People exhaust themselves trying to manage reactions, persuade unwilling minds, or extract respect from those who never intended to give it. Marcus Aurelius warned against this inner confusion. He reminded himself that peace is lost the moment you demand the world behave differently than it does. Walking away is the disciplined refusal to waste what is finite. Your time is limited. Your focus is limited. Your emotional capacity is limited. To pour these into situations that erode self-command is not loyalty, it is negligence toward the self. The Stoic does not abandon responsibility, but he does abandon what cannot be governed by reason. This is not an emotional response. It is a rational one. Walking away is an act of clarity, not impulse. It is the decision to preserve inner order when external order is unavailable. In this sense, departure becomes an expression of strength, not surrender. And once you understand this, something shifts. You stop reacting to provocation. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop explaining yourself to maintain peace that never arrives. What replaces these habits is authority, quiet, steady, unprovable authority that comes from self-command. Others may mistake this withdrawal for indifference or pride. The Stoic does not correct them. He understands that authority does not require recognition. It requires alignment. And alignment begins the moment you decide where your energy no longer belongs. 1. Walking away ends power games. When you stay, you participate. When you leave, the game collapses. Every power game requires one thing above all else: your continued presence. Manipulation, guilt, control, and emotional pressure cannot exist in isolation. They survive because someone keeps responding, keeps explaining, keeps hoping the situation will change if they just endure a little longer. The Stoic recognizes this pattern early. He understands that many conflicts are not meant to be resolved. They are meant to be sustained. The longer you remain, the more energy is extracted from you. Your reactions become currency. Your patience becomes leverage against you. Walking away removes the fuel. There is no dramatic victory, no final exchange, no closing argument. There is simply absence. And absence has a unique effect. It exposes how much of the situation depended on your participation to function at all. This is why walking away feels uncomfortable to those who rely on control. It denies them feedback. It denies them validation. It denies them the emotional exchange they were counting on. The Stoic does not need to win the game. He ends it by refusing to play. Strength is not measured by how long you can remain inside dysfunction. It is measured by how quickly you recognize it and withdraw without bitterness. 2. Silence after departure is louder than arguments. Explaining keeps you tied to outcomes. Leaving denies the other side emotional leverage. Most people believe clarity comes from explanation. They think if they just say the right words, the other person will finally understand. But Marcus Aurelius knew better. He understood that explanation is only useful when both sides are committed to reason. When they are not, explanation becomes a trap. Every argument invites rebuttal. Every justification invites scrutiny. Every explanation hands control to the listener. Silence after departure does something arguments never can. It removes the audience. It removes the stage. It removes the cycle of reaction and counterreaction. Without your words to push against, the other side is left with nothing but their own behavior. This silence is not punishment. It is clarity. Communicates boundaries without negotiation. It signals that your inner state is no longer available for debate. And this is why it unsettles people more than anger ever could. The Stoic does not need to be understood by everyone. He needs to be aligned with himself. Silence protects that alignment, prevents emotional exhaustion. It keeps you from becoming trapped in endless exchanges that lead nowhere. Leaving quietly is not avoidance. It is restraint. And restraint is one of the highest expressions of discipline. 3. Self-respect requires distance. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes shaped by what it tolerates. If you tolerate disrespect, confusion, or chaos, you absorb it. This is one of the most overlooked Stoic warnings. You are not separate from what surrounds you. Your inner state is influenced by what you repeatedly accept. Over time, tolerance becomes normalization. What once felt unacceptable begins to feel familiar, and familiarity dulls judgment. Self-respect is not maintained through confrontation alone. Often, it is preserved through distance. Distance allows perspective. Distance restores clarity. Distance prevents the slow erosion of values that happens when you remain too close to disorder. The Stoic understands that not all battles corrupt the enemy. Some corrupt the participant. Remaining in environments that consistently violate your principles reshapes your character without you noticing. You begin to question yourself. You second-guess your standards. You adapt in ways that feel practical but cost you internally. Walking away interrupts this process. It protects the integrity of the self. It signals that your inner order is not negotiable. This is not pride. Pride seeks superiority. Self-respect seeks preservation. Marcus Aurelius did not preach withdrawal from responsibility, but he warned against exposure to unnecessary disturbance. He knew that discipline requires choosing where not to stand just as much as choosing where to act. Walking away is not abandonment. It is self-preservation. It is the deliberate choice to protect your mental order from what repeatedly threatens it. And over time, this choice strengthens you, not because you escape difficulty, but because you refuse to become shaped by what had no claim over you. The mind suffers not from loss, but from attachment. Loss is an event. Attachment is a condition of the mind that refuses to release what it cannot command. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea repeatedly because he understood that most pain is self-generated, not imposed. It comes from insisting that something external must remain in our grasp for us to remain whole. Most people stay in situations that drain them because they fear being misunderstood, replaced, or forgotten. They fear what silence might imply. They fear that absence will erase their value. So they remain present even when presence costs them clarity. They endure not out of strength, but out of anxiety. The Stoic sees through this pattern. He knows that the desire to be chosen, approved, or validated places the mind in a position of dependency. The moment your worth depends on another's response, you surrender control. You begin to negotiate your standards. You tolerate what you should question. You accept what you should refuse. This is why the need to be chosen makes you controllable. It hands leverage to others without them ever asking for it. They do not need to threaten or demand. Your attachment does the work for them. The Stoic removes this leverage by releasing the expectation entirely. Once that need is gone, emotional pressure dissolves. Disapproval loses its sting. Silence loses its threat. You no longer react from fear of absence. You act from alignment with reason. What remains is steadiness, a mind that is no longer pulled by approval, no longer anchored to outcomes, and no longer shaken by the possibility of being left behind. This is not detachment from life. It is detachment from dependency. And that is where inner freedom begins. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that external events are neutral. It is judgment that creates disturbance. Events do not wound the mind on their own. They arrive without meaning. Meaning is assigned through interpretation. And when interpretation becomes distorted, the mind turns against itself. This is why Stoic practice begins with scrutiny of judgment. Not every challenge is an invitation. Not every conflict deserves engagement. Not every disruption requires endurance. The disciplined mind pauses and asks not, "What is happening?" but, "What am I telling myself about what is happening?" Walking away, in this sense, is the removal of false judgments that quietly govern behavior. The first false judgment is the belief that you must fix everything. This belief disguises itself as responsibility, but often it is control in another form. Some situations are not broken, they are misaligned. To remain in them out of obligation is to confuse duty with self-erasure. Marcus Aurelius understood that wisdom includes knowing when effort no longer serves virtue. The second false judgment is that endurance always equals virtue. Endurance is only virtuous when it serves reason. Endurance without discernment becomes habit. Habit becomes self-neglect. The Stoic endures hardship when it refines character, not when it corrodes it. There is no honor in staying where your presence sustains disorder. The third false judgment is that departure equals failure. This belief keeps people trapped long after clarity has arrived. It frames leaving as defeat rather than correction. Marcus Aurelius rejected this framing. For him, correction was evidence of learning. To withdraw from what undermines inner order is not loss. It is alignment restored. The Stoic does not cling to narratives that flatter endurance at the cost of peace. He values inner order above appearances. He understands that proving a point to others often requires sacrificing calm, while preserving calm requires letting the point go unproven. The Stoic chooses peace over proving a point because peace protects judgment. And judgment, once protected, allows a person to live in accordance with reason, untouched by noise, unprovoked by disorder, and free from the burden of false beliefs. You were never meant to convince everyone. Persuasion is not a universal duty, and understanding is not something you can force into unwilling minds. The Stoic accepts this without resentment. He knows that reason operates only where it is welcomed, and that chasing agreement often costs more than it gives. You were never meant to stay everywhere. Presence is not an obligation. Every environment shapes the person who remains within it, and remaining without reflection slowly erodes clarity. The disciplined mind chooses where to stand, and just as importantly, where not to remain. The moment you see walking away as a decision of strength rather than loss, something changes internally. You no longer experience departure as rejection or defeat. It becomes an assertion of order. Your sense of self stops bending toward approval. You no longer measure worth by endurance or acceptance. You stop negotiating your worth because you no longer doubt it. You recognize that value does not increase through tolerance of disorder. It is preserved through alignment with reason. And from that alignment comes a quiet steadiness that requires no defense, no explanation, and no permission to exist. This is not about dramatic exits, grand gestures, or public statements. Stoicism does not reward theatrics. It rewards mastery over the self. Walking away begins internally, long before any physical departure occurs. It is an internal withdrawal, a conscious retraction of energy, attention, and emotional availability from what does not serve your reason or your peace. You stop reacting. The triggers that once provoked anger, frustration, or anxiety no longer hold sway. You observe without absorbing, you witness without attachment. The mind that was once scattered by other people's chaos becomes still, deliberate, and controlled. Emotional impulses no longer dictate behavior because the Stoic chooses where engagement is meaningful and where it is wasted. You stop over-investing. Time, thought, and care are finite resources. When directed toward unresponsive minds or disordered situations, they are squandered. By withdrawing internally, you reclaim them. Energy that was previously spent chasing recognition, approval, or resolution is redirected toward what truly matters: growth, clarity, and inner order. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Words lose their power when spoken to ears unwilling to hear. The Stoic does not argue with inevitability, nor does he bargain with chaos. Silence, detachment, and absence communicate more effectively than any justification. Your calm becomes your boundary. It is invisible yet impenetrable. It signals that your mind, your values, and your presence are not negotiable. You no longer hand control to others through overreaction or pleading. Instead, your stillness defines the limits of engagement, protects your energy, and demonstrates that mastery is not a performance. It is a state of being. If you ignore this lesson, you will keep paying for other people's disorder. You will allow their chaos, confusion, and poor judgment to dictate the rhythm of your mind. Every compromise, every attempt to control what cannot be controlled, every insistence on being understood where understanding is impossible, becomes a silent toll you pay without realizing it. Over time, these small concessions accumulate, shaping your character in ways you never intended, quietly eroding resilience and self-respect. You will trade clarity for comfort. You will convince yourself that staying is easier than leaving, that explaining endlessly is preferable to walking away, that enduring disrespect is somehow virtuous. The mind that should be sharp, observant, and disciplined becomes dulled by habitual tolerance. You begin to prioritize avoiding discomfort over preserving your inner order, and in doing so, you mistake temporary relief for true strength. You will mistake tolerance for maturity. Endurance is only a measure of virtue when it is applied with discernment, when it aligns with reason and the preservation of integrity. Without judgment, endurance becomes blind compliance. You allow situations and people that diminish your focus and peace to persist, believing that patience or leniency defines character. The Stoic sees this clearly. Tolerance without wisdom is self-deception. And over time, resentment will replace discipline. Every time you bend to accommodate the unreasonable, every time you internalize the expectations and chaos of others, you store silent anger. This anger festers beneath the surface, undermining calm, judgment, and clarity. You lose control over yourself even while trying to control or endure the actions of others. What started as patience slowly turns into bitterness, and bitterness corrodes the very self-mastery you intended to cultivate. Most people never recover from this. They remain trapped in cycles of reactive behavior, constantly adjusting themselves to appease others, sacrificing long-term peace for short-term acceptance. The mind that could have been steady and free instead becomes captive to external disorder. This is why learning when to walk away is not optional for the Stoic. It is essential. Preservation of inner order is not just a choice. It is the foundation for every other form of strength, wisdom, and freedom. Those who fail to grasp it continue to pay the price silently, day after day, until the opportunity for clarity and discipline slips away entirely. Walking away restores balance. It is the act that reclaims the space that has been quietly occupied by distraction, conflict, or disorder. When you remove yourself from what drains your attention and energy, you stop feeding the chaos and start feeding yourself. This withdrawal is not passive. It is deliberate, conscious, and disciplined. It is the Stoic understanding that peace is not given by circumstances, but preserved by choice. You return to what you govern, your thoughts, your actions, your values. These are the only things truly under your control. No external argument, expectation, or provocation can touch them unless you allow it. When you walk away, you realign with reason. You no longer react to the disorder imposed by others. Instead, you act from clarity. Your attention is no longer stolen by what cannot be fixed. Your energy is no longer scattered by what cannot be changed. And your inner state becomes a fortress, defined not by circumstance, but by intention. Nothing external needs to change for you to regain authority, only your decision. Authority does not require the approval of others, the correction of events, or the resolution of disputes. It requires only self-command. You choose to withdraw, to preserve, and to act in accordance with what is meaningful and virtuous. By doing so, you demonstrate that control is not a function of circumstance, it is a function of mastery. Walking away is not defeat. It is alignment. It is the conscious choice to place yourself at the center of your own life, where reason governs and peace follows naturally. The strongest response is not confrontation. It is not a sharp retort, a heated argument, or a display of force. True strength does not seek to dominate others or prove a point. It does not expend energy trying to control what cannot be controlled. The Stoic understands that external conflicts are distractions from the real work, mastering the self. Self-command, not confrontation, is the measure of power. When you command yourself, you control your reactions, your emotions, and your focus. You no longer allow provocation to dictate behavior. You no longer hand your energy to people or situations that seek to unsettle you. Your decisions are deliberate. Your presence is intentional. Your absence is strategic. In this way, the mind becomes unshakable, not because the world has changed, but because your inner state is anchored in reason, discipline, and perspective. And the quiet confidence of someone who knows when to leave cannot be shaken. It is a confidence that requires no explanation, no validation, and no recognition from others. It is visible not through grand gestures but in calm posture, steady words, and unreactive presence. People may test it, attempt to provoke it, or misunderstand it, but it remains intact. This confidence stems from alignment, knowing that you have chosen where your energy belongs, and refusing to give it to what diminishes you. Walking away in this way is not surrender. It is mastery. It is the declaration that your authority over yourself is absolute, and that peace, reason, and clarity are your priorities above all else. Those who cultivate the strength do not need to fight every battle. They have already won the most important one. control over their own mind. If you're still watching but not subscribed, pause for a moment and ask yourself why. Is it hesitation or the habit of delaying growth? Are you clinging to old patterns, convincing yourself that change can wait, that wisdom can be postponed, that clarity will somehow arrive without action? The truth is, people who stay stuck always say, "I'll do it later." They postpone the decisions that could redefine their day, their mindset, and their life. They let opportunities slip quietly by while convincing themselves that comfort lies in inaction. People who change, on the other hand, act immediately. They understand that every moment of delay is a moment wasted, a surrender of potential, a small betrayal of their own discipline. They know that growth cannot be scheduled for convenience. It must be chosen in the present. They recognize that clarity, strength, and authority over the self are not rewards to be earned tomorrow. They are claimed today through decisive action. Subscribe to Daily Stoic Vault now, because discipline delayed is discipline denied. Don't let hesitation dictate your growth. Like the video, share it with someone who refuses to let go of the chaos or indecision holding them back, and leave a comment that cements your choice. I choose control. That choice is more than words. It is a declaration that you will no longer hand your attention, energy, or peace to what does not serve you. It is the first step toward reclaiming authority over your mind and life. Make that decision now, and watch how everything shifts.